Have you been with a toxic person and they left you to go to the next person? They left you because they had a new supply or a new side piece or a new person that they went to, making you feel awful and bad. However, that new person might be a person that you already knew, or might still be in your circle of friends, or might be someone who's reaching out or attacking you. What do you do? So we're going to talk through some different options today of how to protect or how to respond to some of the things that might be happening with the narcissist's new supply. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day clarity challenge. If you're struggling with this aspect of a trauma bond, almost like Stockholm syndrome, where you know logically that I shouldn't be with this person, or logically this person is toxic, it's probably not helpful for me, but you still want to go back, you still want to interact, you still want to be with, you still just want to check up on them or drive by, you might be dealing with a trauma bond. And a trauma bond can be very difficult to be able to break. Some of the things we focus on in the 45-day clarity challenge is helping you break the trauma bond, reduce the triggers that are controlling you right now, and to be able to move to a state where you are happy and healthy moving forward into your growth. Today's going to be one of the last days that you have the opportunity to be able to sign up. So go to claritychallenge.net to be able to access that training, to be able to see a video and hear from other testimonies from other people who have gone through the challenge to let you know how it can help and how it can impact you. So check it out at claritychallenge.net. If you guys are new on this channel and you want to subscribe, please do hit that notification. If you want to know more about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, my journey in narcissism, diving in. Okay. So should I tell the new supply? Sometimes that's a question that people get of like, should I tell them that they're with a narcissist? So should I tell them that they're with a toxic person or not? Do I interact with them? Like now because of like co-parenting and stuff like that, like they're interacting with my kids, like do I interact with them? Do I not interact with them? There's a lot of questions that come up talking about the new supply and what to do in those instances. So we're going to dive into new supply. Should I warn them or not? How do I deal with them? And how to respond. Just overview of what we're looking at today. Okay, when we talk about supply, sometimes people get really, really frustrated about this word supply, and I get it. But part of it is like we need to label it what it is in the narcissistic world. The narcissistic world, it is supply. Okay, supply is this source of validation. It's this source that helps the narcissist get the admiration, the attention, the validation to pump up their ego to make them feel good. The idea is the supply is needed for the ego to be able to continue to be pumped up. It's needed to be able to have like that lifeline of like, I'm getting everything I want from this one person, and to be able to control and manipulate that person to get what they want. When we're talking about this aspect of supply, I'm not degrading or telling people that they're awful people or putting them lower than. I'm saying this is how the narcissist views other people. They view them as transactions. They view them as vending machines to get what they want. They view them as appliances to be able to get the thing that they want out of that person, which ultimately typically comes back to the narcissist and what the narcissist wants. So we need to be able to understand the word supply is very important to identify that it's not just a fling, it's not just a girlfriend or a boyfriend, it's not just X, Y, and Z. This is an actual person that is there in the narcissist's life that the narcissist is feeding off of, taking their energy, taking their emotions, taking control of that other person. So the narcissist keeps that supply, that person around for their own needs, needed for their own ego. It supports the shallow ego that the narcissist has. Oftentimes, it'll be put in a place where with supply, it's triangulation of triangulating one supply to another supply, upping different levels of what they get from that person, like promoting this aspect of jealousy and getting to the place where they idealize one, devalue another, switch back and forth to be able to make it a giant confusing mess for you to try to deal with. Now, you need to understand a narcissist is always going to come to the table trying to manipulate the supply. Trying to manipulate you, developing this false intimacy, this false connection, and isolating them from everybody else. You probably know this in your own relationship with the narcissist is you were isolated. You were stuck away from your friends and family. Not because the narcissist told you no, and we're going to actually talk about that, I think, later today in a video, but because the narcissist just held back. and all the covert ways they actually kept you isolated from other people. So that's just to say we're talking about supply. Okay, we're talking about the narcissist going to another person, and sometimes you have this aspect where you know the person, or you have an idea, or you at least know who they are, kind of thing, and you're like, do I actually warn them or not? Because I know they're going to go be with a toxic person. Like, that person is toxic. Maybe I should warn her. This is typically what happens. Either one, the narcissist has already prepped the new supply. They've already constructed a story that is going to tell the new supply, my ex, yeah, she's crazy. So just FYI, if she shows up, just ignore her because she's been dealing with a lot, she's crazy in this area, blah, blah, blah. And they'll paint a story. They'll paint a picture that the new supply is going to believe. So when you show up being like, hey, he's awful, he's all this, and the next person won't believe. Now, the reason why I say it even just like that is because I literally had a client the other day that was talking through the same thing, where the person, the old supply in one sense, was reaching out to her, and it didn't wake her up. It didn't show her, wait a second, this person's toxic. Instead, it did the opposite, which typically is the second thing. So narcissists will either, one, prepare everything so you look crazy, or they'll use everything in that instance to just bind them further with a new supply. Sometimes in reaching out and trying to say, hey, be careful of this person, you can actually bind them together. The same thing actually happened, I'm just remembering now, the same thing actually happened in my marriage. Early on, when I got out of one relationship and got together with my wife now, there was a person who reached out to my wife and was like, this is what happened, he's crazy and all this kind of stuff. And because of stuff that I had said, and because of how that person had acted, they already looked a little crazy. And so my wife was like, okay, whatever. And she just kind of brushed it off. Later down the road, she's like, I wish I would have listened, because then it would have at least brought up different things for me to be able to understand that I didn't understand at that point about the narcissism, about the things that she was actually struggling with. Words narcissism was never talked about then, but just the actions and things like that. And so sometimes in reaching out and telling the new supply about, hey, this person's toxic, number one, a lot of times they won't believe you because the narcissist already prepped them. And then number two, sometimes you reaching out might actually do the opposite and further bind them together. So you need to be careful about that. Okay? When we're talking about dealing with a new supply, a lot of times there's this aspect of triangulation, where the narcissist will pit two people against each other. Okay? And when this happens, it makes it what do I actually do? And he'll pit the new supply against you. He'll try to one-up, all these different types of things. With triangulation, you need to understand, it's all going through the narcissist. So everything is getting confused and confabulated into different lies. In this aspect, you need to pull yourself out of the triangle and not engage, because otherwise you'll get sucked into that toxicity every single time. Now, this might be at a place where you need to put a big distance between you and the narcissist. Maybe you have kids. You're like, I don't know if I can do that. Maybe you already have good communication, apart. You're able to take care of yourself, and they're not affecting you in that way. There's a lot of different aspects of it. But a lot of times people have to go no contact and make sure that there's no contact with the new supply as well. Because you have to understand the narcissist might get a high after having both of you interact. So that version of that idea of a happy, separated, co-parenting families might actually be something that the narcissist is like, I got them to interact. I got them to work together. So you need to understand, you need to be careful with that too. Also, when we talk about new supplies, they can be very, very toxic. And you need to protect you more than anything else. See, it's not just that a narcissist is a toxic person. Sometimes they also get with other toxic people as well. We've seen it time and time again. Sometimes that person is just a flying monkey that the narcissist has under their spell, under their reality that they're trying to get them to believe. Other times it's just a plain toxic person and they're attacking you and they're running after you for all kinds of things. We see different toxic supplies out there that are shaming people online, that are coming after people, that are, trying to sue people, all different types of things that are happening there. And the thing you have to understand is you don't have to have interaction, friendship, even if you're sharing kids, whatever it might be, it doesn't have to be there. And just go no contact like you would with anyone that's toxic, because that's what's going to help you and protect you moving forward. So you might have to respond with no contact. You might have to pull back from any type of communication with anybody around that subject, because you need to have boundaries with you. You need to have boundaries with you and, say, the kids versus the new supply. Like, there needs to be things in place that you're like, I'm not okay with this. This is something that affects me. This is something that affects our life. We're going to do it this way. If you're practicing parallel parenting, they're like, okay, when the kids are at their house, they're doing whatever they're doing. When the kids are at my house, here's what we're doing. Like, there's boundaries that have to be put in place. When you reach out sometimes to a new supply, you need to understand is sometimes they don't have a clue of what they're dealing with, or sometimes they do know and they just don't care. And so, like, understanding that and being very careful as you either communicate, reach out, or like disappear out of the picture is totally fine. You need to be careful about how you're engaging. You need to make sure that any contact with a narcissist, with a new supply, with anybody with toxic traits cannot slow you down from your healing. You have to make sure that your healing is a priority. If it's not a priority, it's not going to happen. If it's not on your calendar, it's not going to happen. If it's not actually written in, if you're going to do this, you're going to focus on this, it's not going to happen. And if it does, you'll never be able to track it, and you won't know if you've made any progress. So last but not least, I know we've covered like a lot of different topics here, but I want to be able to help you grow to the next level. I want to be able to help you take this growth to the next stage. That's why I'm calling you to check out theclaritychallenge.net. Go through, watch some of the videos from the people who have done it, from the people who have walked through it and been like, wait a second, this stuff helps. Change my mindset, to break the trauma bond, to rewire the triggers that are affecting me and are making me respond a certain way every single day. Because you can grow, you can get free. The biggest question is, are you willing to invest in you? The time and the energy, the money to be able to say, I'm going to commit to working on myself daily for 45 days. There's 5 bonus days that I'm throwing in, but for 45 days, I'm going to work on this and see what happens. You'll be amazed at the results of people that go all in on themselves to grow, heal, change, and develop.